interest, I think. And then we talked about this downstairs if you were in the session, so I won't spend too much time. I'll bring up that list again, but highlight different aspects of it. And then allosterism can look like orthosteric action as well. And so there's ways in which you can determine whether you are dealing with an allosteric compound or not. And then there's different kinds, and most of this is going to be, it seems, most of the therapeutic interest right now are compounds that increase the activity. PAMs. So we'll talk about that, have a few comments on allosteric screening, NAMs, just a few words about NAMs. And then, of course, if you read any article that purports to report an allosteric compound, you notice they always show kinetics. That's the acid test. And editors demand it, so we'll talk about that as well. So allosterism, just talk a little bit about theory, first of all. Early on, it was realized that something was going on with enzymes. You had a compound A substrate for enzyme 1, made a product B. The B would go on to enzyme 2 to make a product C, but somehow the amount of C affected this reaction. And so people explored this, noticed, and the structure of C was different from A. It was clearly binding somewhere else. So this started the idea that the enzyme 1 must have another site, and the two of them are linked up. Koshland was one of the earliest. If you read his work, it's brilliant, because before Koshland, proteins were thought to be pretty stiff. States, clicking and so forth, but an active site was thought to be rigid, and it was Koshland, and it was pretty well uphill for him when he was writing this up. He had trouble getting it across that enzymes move. They fold around. They could move, so we should credit him. What good is allosterism? Well, it gives you different binding curves that makes them steep, and it makes them responsive, different. Here we have a single site binding curve. I just made it up. If that were a trimeric protein where the binding to one unit changed the binding to the other one and so forth, then what you'd get is something like that. The point here is that curve will be different within the concentration range that occurs. The shape's different, and this is what makes allosterism so useful. And it can be the other way as well. It can be